Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's Thursday. As always, we are here at Rolling Thunder Gaming. Check them out online, rollingthundergaming.com. It's a league that's been running for a really long time. This is season 68 of the Talladega Challenge, which has also been running for a really long time. And we're happy to be here covering it. This is race number 6. Had an amazing race pretty much every week this year. Last week was absolutely phenomenal. My name is Blaine Donlin, and here to talk about it at length, Flatout Racing Network doing the commentary, Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole.
And as you say, Blaine, last week, absolutely crazy, and last week's checkered flag marked the halfway point of the regular season. 5 races down, 5 races still left to go until we determine the 16 drivers at least that will be battling in this season's playoffs. And Kyle, we ended up seeing a little bit of everything last week, but maybe the first time in quite a while where we've seen fuel strategy gone wrong that had catastrophic results. Chuck McClure running out of gas in front of the field going into turn 3. We saw a couple of wrecks from turn 3 all the way back to the start-finish line. Resulted in, I believe that by my last count, 8 drivers getting EOL penalties. It shook up the points. It's shaken up the first round of the bracket. And there's still 5 races left to go. So with what we saw last week, is that maybe the match lighting the fuse? And we haven't yet quite gotten to the keg of dynamite that's going to be the regular season finale.
That's the fun thing about this series. It's like you never really know what we're going to get. You know, with the same drivers, at the same track, same setup, basically same everything every single week. Man, we always manage to get something different. So who knows what we're going to get this week. And the interesting thing about that finish last week, that also resulted in a first-time winner.
It did. Yeah, we've now had 5 races, 5 different drivers going to victory lane. Mark Paglia being the first Ford to find victory lane here in season 68. And I find it interesting, too, because you know how they say that you always just need that one race to get things rolling. After Mark Paglia took the checkered flag to this past Thursday night, he went over to Saturday night and ended up winning the race over there in the ASR Superspeedway Series. So drivers obviously using the momentum they have here on Thursday nights, carrying it over into following races. And it'll be interesting to see here if maybe tonight we break that streak. Maybe we have one of our 5 previous drivers go to victory lane. But I think the odds are pretty in favor of us seeing a 6th different driver getting a checkered flag this season.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we saw a different winner in every single race this season. I mean, this just shows you how competitive this series is. And it's like the game is picking up that Mark Pagula has a lot of momentum going. He got a really good qualifying draw for tonight.
Did indeed. Going to start on the outside of the front row. Javier Negron going to be starting on the pole position. Obviously, another full field here tonight. I believe about a half dozen drivers failed to make the show, and subsequently they will try next week. A lot of drivers having to race their way in. I think by the last count I heard, there were 15 drivers that attempted a qualifying lap here tonight, and only 9 were able to make it in. So it just continues here, season after season, race after race. Drivers showing up. Unfortunately, we don't have enough slots to be able to fill them all in, but as we say every week, a full field means a lot of points on the line to be either gained or lost. And with the new playoff system this season as well, not only do we not have rounds any longer, it will be 5 races. All will count as one round. Whoever accumulates the most points at the end of those 5 races will be the champion. But also the fact that the playoff grid has been extended to at least 16 drivers in on points. Potentially, we could have a couple of wild card drivers if they have a win between 17th and 20th in the standings. But I look down around that 16th position in the standings. There's some really interesting names down there that have had some good runs, some bad runs. The big thing that stood out to me here, Kyle, and this is the beauty and the curse of super speedway racing, nobody as of yet has been able to establish themselves a clear favorite in terms of consistency. There are only 4 drivers that have scored 3 top 10s in these first 5 races. With that being said, you know, it's kind of almost coming down to partial luck, partial skill for these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, that just that just shows you how how fun it is for us to call these races every single week, and I mean, again, goes to show you how competitive this series is. It's like you look at the people who are either in a good position in points or basically in a must-win situation almost. There's really no surprises. That goes to show you how. I mean, there may be more surprises of who isn't in there than who is. But again, it just shows you how competitive this series is.
We've seen that season after season, to your point, a lot of big-name drivers, a lot of former champions unable to make it into the playoff grid. A little bit more space for drivers to make their way in this season, but we'll have to see if there's going to be maybe an underdog story or maybe one of those favorites unable to make the postseason show. We got about a little less than a minute before these drivers will grid up, so we'll take this opportunity here since we are now officially beginning the bracket challenge. Last week was the first round of the bracket challenge. All the drivers that managed to finish either one position or multiple positions ahead of their respective opponents moving on to the next round on the winner's side. All the drivers that failed to advance, they go down to the loser's side of the bracket. They still have a shot of fighting for the bracket championship at the end of this season. But your matchups coming in tonight will go down here as there's only 8 matchups to keep track of here in this one. Tim Knopfsker going to be taking on Jeremy Jeffries. That's going to be an interesting one. Greg Lovell going to be facing off against Ken Roberts. Joe DeSpirito will face last week's winner Mark Paglia. Michael Norman and Lily Sandoval, a couple of Team Wrecking Ball teammates, going to have to go at it here tonight. Bernie Mobbs against Craig Hagley. Mike Mangialardi will take on one of the former winners on the season, Denny Carroll. Graham McDonald will face off against the current overall points leader, Josh Metallic. And Robert Breedlove will take on former winner on the season, Kelly Causey. Winners of the respective matchups here will move on to round number 3, down to our Elite 8, so to say, in next week's race.
That's some pretty interesting matchups right there. The one that I'm really curious about is that you mentioned 2 teammates right there, Michael Norman and Ulysses Sandoval, two really good friends and two guys that work with each other throughout the week. Wonder if the thought of the bracket challenges rolling through their mind for this week.
For the same reason, that's why I think the Tim Knopfsker, Jeremy Jeffries dynamic is an interesting one as well. Drivers that, as you say, that we're used to seeing work with each other on track week after week, going to have to get that one position over their teammate to be able to advance into the next round of the bracket challenge. Watching a lot of these drivers here at the close of happy hour practicing potential green flag pit stops. We've seen so many times. Yes, the wrecks that take place on the racetrack, they definitely can predetermine whether you're going to be in the hunt for the victory at the end of the night or not. But boy, pit road, has it played a part not only this season, but in seasons past. And now as we get closer towards the end of the regular season, there's always that little desire in the driver to go just a little bit harder, try and go a little bit further and see if you can push the issue, and maybe you might accidentally overstep.
There's always a big risk right there pushing the issue. We'll see what happens here tonight. Further we get into the season, the pressure builds. So I think we're going to see a lot of that here in the next coming weeks.
The pace car is now getting the 40 drivers lined up behind it in preparation for tonight's 66 lapper from the Talladega Superspeedway. And this is the way they will roll off of pit road. Javier Negron starts his number 40 Toyota on the pole position. Last week's winner, Mark Paglia, looking to go back-to-back as he will share the outside of the front row. You'll see the inside line move up a row as yours truly somehow managed to net the 3rd spot. Denny Carroll's
you're finding a lot of speed in qualifying here over the last couple of weeks.
I don't know what the secret is. Maybe I'm just getting a good tailwind down the back straightaway or something. Denny Carroll's going to line up on the outside of the 2nd row. Joe DeSpirito, Josh Metallic, the points leader. They're going to be row 3. You'll see Sandoval, Ken Roberts, row number 4. Row 5 will be Doug Hewlick and Tim Anderson completing your top 10. Row 6 will be Rod Weston alongside of Donnie Garrett. Row 7, Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
And he'll be alongside of Billy Elliser. John Godfrey and Greg Lovell, they're in row 8. Row 9, Brian Schilling and Bob Seminara. Greg Palmer will complete the top 20 alongside of Brian Lovell. In row 11 finds Graham McDonald alongside of Mike Mangialardi. Richard Martin will be back in row 12 with Kelly Causey, Jeremy Jeffries, Rodney Sullins. They're row 13. Row 14, Robert Breedlove and Bernie Mobbs. Great to see Jeffrey Elliott in the field here tonight, as he'll be in the 15th row alongside of Robert Spring. 16th row finds Glenn Harris and Michael Norman. Grant Wesley deep in the field in row 17 with Craig Hagley. Row 18, Dennis McCarthy and Bobby Farrell. Tim Nofsker also very deep in the field, as he'll be joined by RJ Cabana. And the rest of your 40-car field here tonight, Cody Lamas, Sean Turner, and Garland Oaks. Point standings coming into tonight. Mentioned Josh Metallic, currently the points leader, but not by much. 3 points up on Tim Nofsker. Joe DeSpirito, good starting track position here tonight on the inside of row 2, sits third in points, -7. Grant Wesley, former winner on the season, 4th. He's 16 points back, and then Michael Norman 5th in the standings, 25 points out. With Brian Schilling, Ulysses Sandoval, Mark Paglia, Chuck McClure, Ken Roberts, that's your top 10. 42 points separating the top 10 in the standings. That equates to about the amount of points you can gain in a 40-car field race. So we could end up seeing a lot of shifting of positions from the start of this race to the end of this race as we now enter into the home stretch of the regular season. The push towards the playoffs begin. Green flag in the air for race number 6. Mark Paglia, I guess, feeling the momentum of last week. He was on it when that green flag dropped. He almost had Javier Negron cleared by the time they got to turn 1. That inside line battled back, but now you see that momentum up on the top side, and Paglia led the last lap last week. Looks like if everything goes the way that he's got it situated, he'll be leading the first lap this week.
He's being pushed by the man who won the previous week, Denny Carroll right there, the 41 car. Yeah, they were ready for that start, and we already have a third line forming. We have Brian Schilling leading that one, as Mark Pagula will lead lap number 1. And now Denny Carroll goes to his inside after pushing him on the first lap.
Denny Carroll, we mentioned about him and his momentum a couple of weeks ago, getting that victory. That moved him up above the cut line that forced him to have to race his way into the field every week on speed. Last week, ended up gaining 5 spots. Moving up to 18th in points as see John Godfrey ducking out of line. I think that's by design. He sees the 3 wide up ahead, says, I think I want to head to the back and ride a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't see him get out of shape or anything. Looks like he didn't like what he saw up in front of him. Not a bad move right now, but it's like it's getting a little hairy right now. At the very start of this thing, and look at Brian Schilling on the outside getting a push from Bob Seminara. Got a few others behind him right there leading that outside line.
Boy, they've got a ton of momentum up in that third groove. As Schilling, I think he was, when they crossed the start finish line last time by, I think he was 3 wide for about 12th. He's now 3 wide for the 3rd position and continuing to gain ground. Mike Mangialardi's up there, Kelly Causey, Rodney Sullins as well. A lot of fast machines. They're kind of drawing that middle line back. Let's see if that gives the advantage to the inside line or not. As Denny Carroll, he moved up, covered that middle line, and that kind of stalled them out. Here comes Schilling.
It's just told that Sean Turner left the server tornado sirens going on in his area right now. So hopefully, hopefully, nothing bad happens over there. But can't say I blame him for taking precautions right now.
Absolutely not. Yeah, well, Sean will get credit for 40th place, but certainly that takes the priority. Turner was one of the drivers that had to race his way in on speed tonight, so he'll look to do the same thing next week. As all of a sudden, the field up there at the front, that inside line ended up getting the surge with the middle and the outside line kind of dragging each other back. And now you've got about 6 cars, it looks like, clear on that inside line. The 7th car of Donnie Garrett trying to get himself clear, but Mark Paglia with Josh Metallic, Ken Roberts got a little trio going on up there, trying to see if maybe they can fight against the bottom 7.
They were just talking about all the momentum that the outside line had right there with Brian Schilling leading that line, and how they've really fallen back here compared to where they were a couple of laps ago. So it's pretty amazing how quickly things can change in about a lap or so.
You mentioned in the pre-race there too, Jeffrey Elliott's out here running tonight. We're keeping in touch with him, obviously. He helped. He was a big part of Tarnation TV getting off the ground, but he's been having some pretty aggressive procedures and treatments being done the last few months actually. So, you know what? Call Rodney Sellens. He'll paint you up a cool car.
Yeah, we actually had Jeffrey's brother Chris in our chat saying it's great to see Jeffrey out there on the racetrack. Obviously, Blaine, you filled us in on everything that's been going on with Jeffrey a couple of weeks ago, and so really nice to see him out here behind the wheel doing what he loves to do. And obviously we don't want him to push the limits. We'd love to see him finish out this race. He's a former winner in this series. We'd love to see him go to victory lane here tonight, but it's great to see him out here in the pack this evening, turning laps on Thursday nights.
So many people in this sim that we've become friends with, and actually never met any of these guys in real life, but it feels like you've just been friends forever because you've been playing this thing forever,
We've talked about it numerous times. This is a connector. So many times. I mean, we'll even see on social media all these guys here, they'll be passing through somebody's town, and they take the time to go out of their way to meet up with them.
Yeah, you hear guys, driving, I drove 40 miles because I was in the area. And you're like, 40 miles doesn't seem like it's in the area. I'm like, when you're talking about the planet Earth, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Take the 40 mile drive.
In the neighborhood.
Go hang out with a guy,
Just a slight detour.
Yeah, a little bit, I drive for a living, so it's not a huge issue. Just go for a drive. But yeah, if you get close to somebody like that, logistically, it just sort of makes sense, go touch base, go grab breakfast.
They're going for quite a drive up front here. We're just 3 wide for the lead.
Whole race so far, pretty much.
That outside line got going again here. Brian Schillen getting pushed there by Bob Seminara, Kelly Causey, Rod Wesson, Grant Wesley, and a few others right there. They were 3 wide for the lead, falling back a little bit right now. And Denny Carroll remains the race leader.
And before that inside line started getting that momentum again, Javier Negron did a good job. He had started this race from the pole, kind of got shuffled back to almost outside of the top 10, and then was able to get Joe DeSpirito and a couple of others to join him in that middle line, made his way almost back up to the front again. Now he's going to tuck down in front of Rodney Sellens as Denny Carroll now clear out to the lead. Ulysses Sandoval in second. Behind him, Tim Anderson, Donnie Garrett, 21 of Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Just checked on scoring. Rodney Sellens started this race from the 26th position, and he's about to cross the start-finish line. Well, jumping up to the high side there, but right now going to cross the start-finish line in 8th place, so he has picked up a ton of spots since the drop of the green flag.
Getting a push there from the 22 of Greg Palmer. Now looks like Javier Negron jumps up in front of him. 3 cars trying to get that middle line to work.
It's like they're making progress. That third line led by Brian Schilling has since seemed to evaporate. Schilling, Seminara, Causey, they've all made their way down into the middle line behind Joe DeSpirito, about 4 car lengths back behind that top 3 on the outside line. More drivers further back making their way from the outside of the middle groove. Metallic, Grant Wesley, Tim Knopfsker back there. So now things have seemed to settle a little bit here. That 3 wide several rows deep that we saw in the early going is now dissipated to several rows of double wide formation. We'll see now what the driver mentality is. We've been told, obviously, how racy this mod is, how good the suck-up is. That when you get a run, you want to take it somewhere. We're about halfway through a fuel run, so do we just kind of calm down here and now prepare ourselves for pit road, or if the occasion warrants it, do we end up seeing these guys get knotted up 3 wide again before those pit stops come around?
Think of somebody up front sees an opportunity to go up there, take the lead a lap, for a bonus point. They'll probably take it. But the closer we get to that first round of green flag pit stops, that's when you're going to see a lot of these drivers get to the inside and prepare for those stops.
Of course, as well, we got to bear in mind that this season, brand new system where at the halfway points completion, top 10 are awarded stage points. And last week, we ended up seeing the stage win determined by who got off pit road first. Bob Seminara was able to snipe Ulysses Sandoval with a faster green flag pit stop.
Yeah, he used a little bit of pit strategy right there. I think he took a little bit less fuel than everybody else, got him up front, and got him 10 extra points. And, you know, we're constantly talking about ways to go up there and how important bonus points are, and now that they're adding stage racing to the mix, where you can get 10 points at the halfway point, and you're just going to see even more strategy like that, I believe.
I've just been handed a note here from Keith Bynum. Mike Mangialardi's birthday today in the 29.
Hey!
Happy birthday to you. I'm sure everybody at the Rainier Room is watching.
Yes. Let's see if he...
And that's all that was on this piece of paper, by the way. That's all he handed me.
Let's see where Mike's currently at. He's currently back around the 25th position on the inside line, right behind Jeffrey Elliott, right in front of Michael Norman.
Yeah, at the line
23rd in points coming into this race, so he's within striking distance to make his way up into the top 16 by the end of this regular season. I think they found the opportunity, Kyle.
Yeah. Rodney Solins jumps to the outside right there, trying to lead that outside line. Greg Palmer went with him. Got to see Tim Anderson leading that middle line right there with Javier Negron. They got pretty good distance between themselves and Joe DeSpirito, the next car in line there.
And you see Rodney and company going to make up ground on those drivers in the middle group, but they're also losing ground to the drivers on the inside line. Greg Lovell's going to potentially get himself clear of that 3 wide coming off of turn 2. Graham McDonald might be able to do the same. Now Bernie Mobbs on the inside line to the 3 wide.
Just look a lot more organized on the bottom. They're pretty content where they're running right now. Like we mentioned, getting ready for those green flag pit stops. They're in a pretty good spot for that. It's these guys in the second and third groove. That's the big question.
Now with making those moves up there to the second and third line, it's going to be tougher for them to be able to find spaces in line. They're going to have to kind of maybe lobby to a driver, hey, can you leave me a little bit of space in front of you to be able to tuck in so that way I'll be able to get onto pit road here. Right now, Denny Carroll has led, obviously, the most laps at 11, so he'd be one of the first ones you'd expect to see onto pit road. The big question is for a lot of these drivers back here that have been spending a good portion of the run in the second groove or the third groove, how much fuel are they using up taking the longer way around the racetrack, and where would they fit in terms of having to pit sooner or being able to pit later than other drivers around them?
On board with Josh Metallic. Pushing my co-host, Rod Weston.
Yeah, Metallic's done a great job this season. I mentioned about the fact it's been very difficult really for anybody when you look at the stats to find any sort of consistency. He comes into this race, the points leader. He is the only driver that has managed to finish in the top 5 in 3 of the previous 5 races. And we need to remember, too, that 2 of the races, I believe it was the last 2 weeks, he was in the right place at the right time to avoid those late race wrecks. So he's definitely been able to find himself in good positioning late in the race. That's allowed him to be able to get the good finishes and obviously has him at the top of the board. You wonder if it's Josh Metallic this week. You've been able to have the lucky horseshoe, I guess, in terms of getting through the wrecks. Now you're hoping the lucky horseshoe gets you into victory lane and solidifies you into the playoffs.
Well, as consistent as he's been, one would think that it's only a matter of time. He continues to run the way he's been running. I mean, you continue to put yourself in a position like that, eventually it's going to pay off and you're going to come away with a victory.
Lap 17 is about to be completed here, so we are starting to creep into the territory of when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about making green flag pit stops here. I mention it all the time. You don't want to make a mistake ever at a super speedway on pit road. But if you're going to make it, better to make it earlier on in the race than later on in the race, so that way if you're able to get a lucky caution, stay on the lead lap, or get a free pass, then you're able to utilize those remaining laps to make forward progress. You don't get that luxury if the caution comes out late or if you make the mistake on pit road late in the event. So we'll see just exactly how big of packs we end up having dive onto pit road if the first pit stops here tonight are under green flag conditions.
And we've seen, pit road, especially pit road entry, play a huge part in these races over the last couple of weeks, and here we go now.
Leaders.
Randy Wass, looks like he locking him up, gets into the grass, keeps going. Now he hits the inside wall.
Right in front of oncoming traffic. Looks like he'll be able to get it turned around. Boy, I think he was, second or third of that formation coming into pit road, so that's going to be a costly mistake for him. Hopefully he got the thing woed down as we saw him traverse out into the infield grass. A good pack of drivers coming down that time, well over a dozen. And now we'll wait to see. I think we're probably going to have, if not the rest of the field, a good chunk of it this time by as Lucy Sandoval inherits the race lead.
Here he comes.
Accident on the track. Lamas goes around.
And we got a caution. Caution's out. A number of drivers noticed it, darted back up onto the racetrack. Others did not.
The first 5 or 6, I think, will be good to get service. Everybody else entered a closed pit.
I think the first driver I saw was Rodney Sullins, who realized that the caution had come out. He was able to turn back up onto the racetrack. Jeremy Jeffries, Michael Norman did the same. We got a big smoker coming out of turn 2.
Coming out the 931 there, the sun drop. I believe that's a Chevrolet.
Or it was.
Not seeing a whole lot of damage on that race car. I'm wondering if we had a mechanical failure. Almost like that car blew up coming out of his pit stall.
Yeah. Huh. On board with the 931 now on a replay.
I was
wondering if he shifted wrong or something, or
he might have over-revved it, because as I'm watching him in his pit stall, you can see flames coming out of the tailpipes. He's still got the pedal down, the throttle down to the floor here, and he may have over-revved the engine.
Yeah, he cooked it on. For some reason, he was smacking that thing off the rev limiter for that entire pit stop, and he blew it up. That's weird, because Robert Breedlove is definitely on his first day. That's a very aggressive throttle.
I see Cody Lamas up against the wall there.
Yeah, I believe Cody was the actual reason for the caution, as he was towards the tail end of the group that was coming into pit road.
There's a stack up coming to pit road, and like the 19 got into the back of the 48 just due to that stack up, and
Cody got in the back of Michael. I mean, we saw even up at the front of this group, we saw Rodney Sullins fan way out, Brian Schilling fan way out. I mean, this was a big group of cars, everybody trying to adhere to everybody else's braking zones, and unfortunately, when you have the accordion effect, it affects the drivers towards the back end of the pack a lot worse than it does the drivers up at the front, because they don't have the luxury of space.
Honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see more cars spin out, especially when they saw that the caution came out. You saw some drivers, turn back onto the racetrack to avoid going down pit road. Wow, it's closed. So everybody did a really good job in that regard.
Yeah, looking at the replay, it looks like the pits were closed for everybody. I thought a couple of guys might have got in, but the flag man pulls that red flag out and Ulysses. So is that a closed? That's a closed pit penalty.
That is a closed pit. You're
It's
right.
in the longest line, right?
I believe so. So here's the thing, though. I think for it's a catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of those drivers there, yes, you would end up taking an EOL penalty if you take service. The flip side is, do you have enough fuel to do a pass-through and be able to make it around under a pacing lap back to your pit stall? I mean, you kind of, I guess, have to bite the bullet, take the 30-second penalty for taking the service right then and there, rather than run the risk that you run out of fuel half lap trying to get back around.
And if it's going to happen, like you said before, it happens early, and it happened to a lot of people. So a lot of guys made it back out. Everybody who was already committed to pit road looks like they pretty much made their stops. Graham McDonald on the apron.
So I take it the caution came out for the 931. The engine
I
failure.
believe it came out for the 48.
Yeah, the 48 on the track, yeah.
Because I was going to be a little confused. That's why I cycled through to see if there was anything else that happened besides Breedlove, because normally if an engine expires on the racetrack, you'd may get a debris caution, but an engine expires on pit road. Very rarely does the game throw a caution for that. So I was pretty certain something happened on the racing surface, and that was what happened with the 48.
I couldn't tell if the 931 went back onto the racetrack with the engine already blowing and maybe dropped debris or something, but...
You can see here the 48 coming into the pits. He actually bounced off the 30. I think he did. Yeah, the 48 bounced off the 30, which caused the 19 to get into the 48 because they're out on the racetrack. With cars coming, they throw the yellow out.
A Breedlove with that mechanical failure. It's going to end out the night 39th. One of two drivers out of the race, Sean Turner, having to make an early exit from this race, credited for 40th. Didn't need to have any free passes here. Everybody was on the lead lap at the time the caution came out. So 38 remaining will all be on the lead lap. And as far as we're aware, up to speed. This caution worked out favorably for those first group of drivers that came down pit road, because they were able to remain on the lead lap, cycle to the front when everybody else came to pit road, either when that caution came out or on the following lap. And Tim Anderson inherits the lead as a result. He'll be the control car alongside of Ken Roberts, Bobby Farrell, Denny Carroll, Donnie Garrett going to be the top five, with Joe DeSpirito, Bob Seminara, Mark Paglia, Jeffrey Elliott, and Glenn Harris going to be the top 10. It looks like Rodney Sullins, the driver that we saw be able to avoid coming to pit road when the caution came out, he's going to restart back in the 14th position. I believe of the drivers that came down the closed pit road, the highest starting of those drivers is going to be Brian Schilling. He'll be 21st on the restarts. That kind of gives you an idea of where everybody are positioned after the events that just occurred there prior to and during the flying of the first yellow flag here tonight. Third of the way through this race, and whoa, big stack up here at the front. One thing that we do know, these drivers will be good to make it on fuel to the halfway point when those stage points are handed out.
Everybody trying to anticipate that restart right there, and that caused a pretty big stack up on that inside line. Looks like it's like nobody got any real damage from that, thankfully, but close call there at the very start.
Yeah, one thing that I looked at this week, a couple of drivers were given penalties for lane changing before the start-finish line. So we saw that stack up there. You got to be aware of the fact that, you know, if you're trying to avoid a wreck, you can lane change, but you can't jump to the outside or inside of somebody before the start-finish line on a restart. And you said with trying to anticipate, that's why we end up seeing that whole accordion effect that really went all the way back to the middle portion of the field. I saw a big gap back to Josh Metallic and a couple of others there, but it looks like they've all gotten it sorted out, and look how it's kind of affected the front of the field here too.
Saw somebody at the very back of the field. I don't know if he got down into the grass or what, but he got way out of shape there.
I think that might have been Jeffrey. And he might lose the draft as a result. He's trying to stay within, I think the magic number is 1.2 seconds of the 21 car of Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Randy's trying to stay latched on to Rod West. It looks like they might be trying to see if they could pull Jeremy back up to them.
That caution was I failed to mention it, that caution was a good break there for the 21. We saw him get out of shape. Coming down pit road, actually spun out and hit the inside wall right there, but caution saved him, didn't lose a lap.
Great point. More than likely, if we'd remained green, we'd be talking about him a lap down by now. Now, John Godfrey back there, middle of the pack, doing the same thing that he did on the opening lap. Not liking the 3 wide he's seeing. Going to drop to the back again as the double and 3 wide going to be around just outside of the top 10. Michael Norman, Tim Anderson side by side with each other. Grant Wesley up there along with Richard Martin, Greg Palmer. They're all on the inside and the outside line while the top 10 are all running the middle.
They're very smooth this evening. I don't know. It's weird. Some weeks it seems. Oh, I jinxed it.
Richard Martin got real tight there on the inside of. I think that was Bob Seminara. Oh wow, big hit for Tim Knopfsker into the inside wall.
It's a pretty good save right there by some of those guys. That was a great save by. That was a great save there by Michael Norman right there. I don't know if he even hit the wall or not. Nearly left the ground, but just heard him say he didn't get any damage in that.
Grant Wesley had a pretty good save as well. I think that car spun all the way down towards the inside, but didn't make contact with anything. Bob Seminara was the car in the middle that got pushed up into by Richard Martin. Greg Palmer went for a slide. He made some pretty good contact with the right rear into the inside wall, and that late hit for the 088 of Tim Knopfsker. I'm not sure exactly how badly that's going to affect him for the remainder of this race.
No offense, Blaine, as soon as you said that, my first thought was, oh, something's going to happen, right? As soon as somebody says it.
I think that's probably the fastest that the Tarnation TV curse has ever happened. You know, like you say, the broadcaster's jinx, right? You start to talk about a guy and then there's an accident, like literally a half second. As I was saying the sentence, away we go.
Dude, that's the problem with the commentator curse is, you know, obviously it's our job to talk. I wish that there was a way we could determine, though, when we talk too much.
Yes. You know what we could do? Just save the replay and then write a script.
There you go.
And pretend it's live.
Yeah,
this is actually
coverage.
Yeah, this is actually live, so that's obviously not possible. But you know, maybe the broadcast goes live at 11 p.m. You know, and it's a taped copy of it. But Ken Roberts, your leader, taking everybody down pit road.
Not surprised to see everybody pitting here, obviously, with not knowing what the second half of this race might have in store. Potentially could go green the rest of the way, so you take the opportunity here to make the pit stop under caution while you can. This is also going to give us a shootout for the midway point stage. Not exactly 100% sure when the lights are going to go out in the pace car, but I would warrant that we probably will end up having maybe a 3-lap shootout to get to that completion of lap 33, so that's going to make things really interesting as well, and that might be why we have a couple of these drivers staying out. Well, actually, correction on that part, because Richard Martin, Bob Seminara, they ended up being involved in that incident, so the 43 might be staying out the extra lap to serve the penalty second time by, but we've seen Bob Seminara these last couple of weeks playing some interesting strategy to gain stage points. Of course, got that stage win last week. What do you think? Do you think he maybe plans to stay out the entirety of this caution period, see if he can double down on halfway stage wins here?
I wouldn't be surprised after seeing what he did last week, and he's been, you know, pretty consistent up here in terms of getting stage points. So
There was a little bit of a ruckus there on pit exit involving Paglia and Negron. a couple cars getting tied up on the exit there, so. Although Paglia looks like he's sitting right there, actually. Oh, 25th. Yeah, all right.
I just took a quick look at Bob Seminara and the 5 races completed so far this season. He's yet to score a top 10. He's had finishes of 11th and 12th, and his other 3 finishes have been 25th or worse. But he's sitting 11th in the point standings. That is what stage points will do for you. They help to kind of negate the poor finishes. I think that's exactly what Seminara is thinking. He's not coming to pit road, so he's going to take track position over fuel and see if maybe he can get those valuable 10 points at the conclusion of lap 33.
And this happened last week, too. We had a weird little spot where that lap 33 was coming, and like you said, it was a race out of the pits because, you could, again, because the start-finish line, as you see right there, after the pit exit.
When did they restart after the last caution?
I believe it was lap 23.
Okay.
22 or I think it was completion of 22 onto 23.
So they hadn't been out there too long, so I mean, this is a little bit of a gamble for the 712, but
it's
not like they've been out there for too long.
Yeah. He'll still have more than half a tank of fuel in that thing.
Funny, obviously, this is the first season that they've implemented the halfway stage points here on Thursday nights. They've done it in other series, multiple seasons now on Monday nights with the Bare Bones Racing series, but it's kind of caught these drivers a little bit off guard, having to prepare for not 1 but 2 finishes in a sense. We even talked last week with Lissy Sandoval, and he said he was glad that he was able, I think he got 9 stage points, finishing 2nd at the halfway point last week, but he said even that was a mistake. He miscalculated. He planned to actually come to pit road 1 lap prior to the stage ending, or to the completion of lap 33, and miscalculated. So it's really shaken up the strategy of these drivers here and made things interesting at the halfway points now.
Kind of reminds me back in the day in NASCAR, they used to get like they used to award the driver who led at the halfway point a pretty good amount of money. And there'd be some excitement. They're trying to get that halfway point bonus. Now you have it here with the stage points.
Well, if you're a Chevrolet fan, you're going to love this top 10 because it is all bow ties. Bob Seminara going to restart as the control car alongside of Ken Roberts with Denny Carroll, Joe Despiro to Rodney Sullins, the top 5, then Donnie Garrett, Glenn Harris, RJ Cabana, Brian Schilling, Josh Metallic. That is your top 10 as we get ready to go back green. We are 4 laps away from the halfway point where the top 10 will get awarded stage.
Oh, we have a stack up in the back.
Brett Wesley, Craig Hagley, I saw go around. Caution's out. Field is frozen, and this looks like potentially stage might end up, the halfway stage might end up completing under caution, or we may end up going back green right at the completion. Time is going to be very interesting.
Will they give out stage points if it ends under caution?
Yep, I believe so.
Wow, yeah, the 7-Eleven of John Coffey just turned to the right, so I'm thinking maybe Norman got into him.
Yeah, it looked like some stack up, some chain bumping gone wrong there.
Yeah, Norman was right on him pushing, but then they didn't get squared up.
Well, Norman also had Cody Lamas right behind him, getting into him, so it looked like just a big chain reaction deal.
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to claim that, though. And like we know from previous racing, better safe than sorry. Go to the end
John
of the longest
Godfrey
line.
Restarted in 2nd gear. And I checked to see it. It sounded like when he shifted to 3rd gear like it was fine. It also looked like he was just a little bit slower. I don't know if maybe Michael and Cody were a little faster going up to 3rd gear. It just kind of looked like the 7-Eleven didn't get the best of restarts, and unfortunately when Cody gives the shove to Michael, the bumpers aren't even between Michael and John, and it sends the 7-Eleven up into the 88 of Grant Wesley and the 82 of
Richard.
Craig Hagley.
Richard Martin did a nice job getting by that. Had to thread the needle a little bit, but
Jeremy Jeffries has retired from the accident, due to the accident. To go back and find that one too.
I was going to say, I don't remember seeing him involved in the wreck.
Yeah, it says accident.
I haven't seen him. I don't remember him getting involved in anything right there. Wait a minute, he was.
See if I can. I'll lock onto him and see if I can find it.
I mean, he's a little bit further up. He restarted right behind the 4 of Brian Schilling.
Yeah, just outside the top 10, restarted in 11th.
Must have been a wreck coming back to the line that we didn't see.
Something happened on pit road, I think.
It just what?
Did he accidentally downshift? Did he grenade the engine? Oh yeah, he accidentally downshifted coming out of turn 4.
Oh, we'll ride in the cockpit with him then. So let's see.
Wow.
Under caution. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now we're under caution.
They were pacing their way back around. The field was frozen. They were all maintaining their speed. As they came off of the final corner, you see the car snap around.
Yeah.
I don't know if he money shifted or downshifted, but there was definitely a decrease in shifting. And I think it might have grenaded the engine.
From the shifter, too, it kind of looked like it went to second gear. I'm going to back it up and actually watch the gear shift at the top of the screen. The viewers can't see that. He's in third. So he's clearly using an H-pattern shifter. Yeah, when he shifted to second, and then it blew up. So it wasn't like he dumped it from like fourth to first. But yeah, like you said, the way it snapped around on him, it was like an abrupt.
He did, in fact, money shift. I just got told.
Man, that is a tough break there.
Yikes.
I mean, as we said, he was just outside of the top 10, restarted 11th. I think he was 11th or 12th there when the caution came out. And Jeremy came into this race 12th in the point standings as well. So, boy, 38th place is where he's going to finish here tonight. He could very well, with how close the points are, go into next week below that 16th in the standings cut line. Jeremy, a former champion of this series, and that's the thing, right? When you're super speedway racing, you know the risks. When you get out onto the racetrack, you know that it's going to be double wide, it's going to be 3 wide, it's going to be close racing. You're more than likely going to get involved in a wreck that's not of your own making. That's all the pitfalls. But when you have something like that happen, something that you were in control of, that's frustrating. That is frustrating for a driver. So Jeremy's just going to have to put that in the back of his mind, bounce back next week. And consider this as well. He was one of the drivers that moved on in the bracket challenge. This DNF it now ensures that Tim Knopfsker is going to advance into the next round.
So halfway through this race, I totally forgot to thank our sponsor. Even though the sponsor is anonymous, massive thank you to them, of course, for sponsoring season number 66 of the Talladega Challenge here at RollingThunderGaming.com. If you like what you're seeing, RollingThunderGaming.com for more information. And now, back to you, Seth.
I just double-checked here, too. I mentioned about the fact that Jeremy Jeffries, his DNF moves Tim Knopfsker into the next round. Robert Breedlove, who we saw have the mechanical failure back during that first round of pit stops, his retirement from the race ensures that Kelly Causey is going to move on as well. So 2 of our 8 bracket battles here this week already are determined, and we're just now entering into the second half of this race.
Interesting timing here for this caution, really for this restart.
Yep.
They take the restart, that will complete lap number 33, and as soon as they cross the line, that's when the stage points are going to be given out.
So what's the rundown for the points totals? It's the top 10. Is it like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6? Like, what are the points?
Yep. 10 through 1.
Okay, cool.
Now, something's going to be interesting here. Bob is the control car. He's going to have to make absolutely certain that he gets himself a good restart here as the control car, because the game will not penalize you as the outside line car if you get a slightly better restart than the driver on the inside. Ken Roberts, if he's able to get a slightly better restart than Bob Seminara, could he snipe the stage win from the 712? I think that's something that Bob's got to be aware of here. He's got to be very careful to notice exactly when that green flag drops and got to be on the throttle at the right time.
Well, we'll get an angle. We're going to watch. Looks like Bob's going to get it.
Yes, he is. Got himself a really good rolling launch there.
He made sure of that right there.
They cross the line. We'll look to see what the official top 10 look like. No, Bob Seminara is going to get himself the valuable 10 stage points, winning the halfway stage. Back-to-back weeks that he'll do so. The Ken Roberts in second, Denny Carroll third, Joe DeSpirito fourth, Rodney Sullins fifth, then Garrett, Harris, Shilling, RJ Cabana, and Josh Metallic. How about RJ Cabana? Ninth place, picks up 2 stage points, a driver that started this race deep in the field from the 39th position. It looks like with the timing of that yellow, those extra pacing laps for drivers to be able to save fuel, most of these drivers, pretty much all drivers except one, should be able to make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop. Jury's kind of out on Bob Seminara. He currently would have run 13 laps on what he's got in the tank. Granted, a number of them were under yellow, but kind of trying to see if I could be generous with how much he could have saved under those multiple pacing laps. I would say that maybe about the furthest he could go, maybe around lap 43, lap 44. I'm not 100% certain that's going to get him to the finish. He might still have 2 more pit stops that he'll have to make before the conclusion.
He's definitely hoping for a caution here before too long.
Such an interesting gamble. You know, a great call staying out to the lead lap, like the 33rd lap. Get those 10 bonus points, but then if it affects your pit strategy to that extent, he's going to get left behind, and then he's going to get... But again, yeah, yellow flags can dictate some things, and the race isn't over yet. It's a long race. And
the value of those stage points, I mean, consider this in the case of Bob Seminara. You get yourself 10 stage points here tonight. Let's say you get involved in a wreck and finish this race in 33rd. Those 10 valuable stage points, effectively, you end up finishing this race in 23rd. So it actually increases where your finishing position would have been. Granted, it is a huge gamble, and he's probably going to need that race-saving caution to get himself back on the same strategy as everybody else within the next 5 laps, I would say, especially being the lead car right now on this run.
He mentioned the 10 bonus points for winning the stage, also another bonus for leading a lap too, so... I mean, it's possible somebody could win the stage, lead a lap, lead the most laps, and go on to win the race. How many points would that be? I mean, man, that's...
1 million.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll round up. 1 million sounds about right.
Don't think we've seen that yet this season.
Yeah, I wonder...
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, because they come up with this kind of new template. I wonder if they do have like that, if they've ever done that math. Like you have the possibility to gain this many points. That's a good question.
So that would be 12 bonus points plus however many they get for winning the race?
Yeah, I think, well, that plus you also add in 3 bonus points that they get for winning the race on top of
true.
What they would get for finishing P1.
Leading the most laps, leading a lap, leading the 33rd lap. Yeah, there's all kinds of neat stuff that's going on. They're just making more work for themselves as the review committee behind the scenes, right? Like, race control has to look out, they have to peel through this replay, hand out any, and it's not just like yellow flags that are penalties. Like there's incidents. I think they say incident report because an incident doesn't necessarily bring out a yellow. It could happen on pit road, all that kind of stuff. Like these guys, and then they go and they throw in all these extra layers of points as well. It's like, oh man.
Not to mention, it makes it harder on us when we try to speculate what points might look like at the end of the race.
Like, great race, guys. See you next week. And then just go off the air because it's too hard to crunch all those numbers. But we do have Seth Cole's calculator, so that's a bonus.
Well, that's not a bonus. Math was my weakest subject. So if you're relying on my calculator, we're all doomed. That's why I sound like a broken record just about every time we're in the playoff chase season is point stands are unofficial, and please don't take my word for it until we have the official calculations.
Which is usually the next week. So if you want to see the official stuff, as things will change and incidents will be appealed and, it'll all be locked in by next Thursday.
I mean, like I said, at the top of this race, there were about 8 drivers that were involved in incidents in the race-ending caution last week, or the race-ending wrecks, I guess I should say, that ended up getting EOL'd. A lot of drivers that looked like they were going to finish the evening outside of the top 30 ended up almost finishing inside of the top 20. So one of those cases of wait and see, because you never know what's happened from the green flag to start this race to the checkered flag to close this race, what the race review board have to look back at, have to determine what's penalty worthy, what is not. I mean, we ended up having, was it last season, Tim Anderson ended up crossing the start-finish line. P1, we called him the winner of the race. The driver that's leading this race, Bob Seminara, who crossed the line in second, was ultimately awarded the victory after the 033 was called for a block in the closing stages. So you never can be too sure until we know the following week after the dust is settled and all the reviews are in.
Definitely one of the strangest things I've seen in this series. I mean, thinking somebody had won the race, very next week we find out, oh nope, didn't even make it into the top 3. And it being, I think he was pushed back to the last car on the lead lap.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, because you would have been -1 penalty, right, on lap count. So you basically be that last car. Looks like Seminara's going for it.
He's pitting. Yep. It's a little short of what I projected. I thought maybe he'd be able to get to around 44. He's only able to get to 42.
Yeah, I was focusing on the pit entrance there the last 3 laps because I had a feeling that from what you were saying he was going to make that dive. So now, is the gamble worth it? He stayed out for the extra 10, but now he's all by himself. He's just going to get... I mean, these guys are going to walk away from him because they've got about 20-mile-an-hour advantage. Because a lone car out here is only doing about 180, 181 miles an hour. We're in a pack right now. They're doing 202 going into the turn.
And they've still got about 8 or 9 laps before they're going to have to come to pit road. So that's a lot of time that they can close up the distance between themselves and him.
And he might have to come down one more time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, with him pitting when he did, he would be projected about 4 laps short of making it to the finish. So he's going to absolutely need a yellow flag to save his race here, and he's going to need it to more than likely come out. Obviously, he doesn't want to go a lap down, but there's no other drivers -1, so he would fall into one of the 2 lucky dog positions. He needs to have the caution now come out a little bit later. Before, he needed it to come out as soon as possible. Now he needs the caution to come out a little bit later, preferably somewhere around the next 4 or 5 laps, so that way he could come down pit road with everybody else and be able to make it.
They're catching Seminara right now. You see him right in front of race leader Ken Roberts.
And that's the difference of single car to draft right there, folks. About nearly 20 miles per hour difference.
Yeah. And he's not damaged, so somebody could pick him up back here. Ooh. You know, if Oaks or Negron or Lamas or somebody wanted to jump out here and give Bob a swat. Because he's gaining little bit of speed, but nobody wants to team up with him.
Nice move there by Joe DeSpirito. He's going to be side by side with Roberts for the race lead. See Donnie Garrett right behind the 24, giving him some help there on the bottom.
And it's almost like Ken knew that move was going to be made. We saw him kind of shade low off of turn 2 that last time down the back straightaway, then went back up to the middle line, and DeSpirito Garrett jumped down to the inside. I don't know if Ken was trying to position himself his way. We got one on the apron, he saved it. Ooh, Bernie Mobbs, what an adventure there. But it was like Ken, I don't know if he was trying to get down there so that way he would have the inside line ease of access for the upcoming pit stop, or if he thought that the run was coming back up in that middle line. He's now been able to get pushed clear of DeSpirito courtesy of Brian Schilling, but now Schilling and Jeffrey Elliott are left by themselves in that middle groove as Metallic up in that third line with a lot of help.
Middle line is the faster line, but wow, nice lane change there by Cabana. Went from the top to the bottom.
Ooh, Glenn.
Oh, Harris goes
clear.
around.
Off the nose of Bernie Mobbs, and we've got a lot of drivers sliding down towards the inside wall on the back straightaway. Harris was trying to get himself clear down to the inside line. Was not clear of the front nose of the 31 of Bernie Mobbs, and you see the end result. Wow, Javi Negron, our pole sitter, torn up and smoking.
That looks terminal right there.
He went into a wall hard. You just saw it there on that angle there, that 40. Nothing stopped him but a concrete slab.
See what happened here. So first car was looks like the 8 wasn't quite clear of the 31. Tried to get down to that bottom line. Boy, Javier Negron took a couple of hits there.
This is Sandoval was in this. Last week's winner, Mark Pagley, was in the middle of this. I mean, it's just a long list. Rod Weston, John Godfrey, Brian Lovell, Garland Oaks, Michael Norman a little bit further up there. You'll notice when the 8 makes the move, I think it's the indecision. Honestly, I think his first move to the inside, if he'd made it then, I think he was clear. His indecision to go back up to the middle not only scrubbed off speed for him, it also allowed the car on the inside to have the shorter way and close up the distance. I honestly think that if Glenn Harris had made the move to the inside on the first initial motion, he would have actually been clear on the 31.
Yeah, you may be right. A slight half-second hesitation, but when you're doing 200 miles an hour, that's a big difference.
Going that fast, how do you even have the time to change your mind like that?
That's the thing, right? The reflexes of a super speedway driver are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking another quick look at it here. At the time that Glenn moves low, the first initial time that he moves low, he is clear on the 31. Now, more than likely, I think for him, so we have the luxury here in the booth of being able to look at all the angles and everything. I think the driver's eye is not necessarily on his back bumper to the front bumper, the 31. I think he's more focused on, is his nose clear of the back bumper of the Tim Knopfsker machine?
Well,
so I think that might have led to the indecision and then ultimately had him off the nose of Bernie Mobbs. So I think his eyes were actually looking forward at the car he was trying to tuck in behind rather than the car he was trying to tuck in front of.
I think, too, that he's making the motion to the left, and look at how fast he's gaining on the 56 Jeffrey Elliott. You know what I mean? He'd have to check up.
Yep.
So it's kind of like you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because he's gaining so fast on Jeff. He's going to make the move down, realizes he might not be clear, and then you're done for.
This is why I never run roof cam or cockpit view. I need to have a chase or a far chase view. I like seeing everything that's around me just for a situation like that. Not sure what the 8 uses, but
I could tell you Jeffrey Elliott, he definitely runs in a far chase. Man, Negron got walloped.
And he is done for the night as well. I think he's going to finish 37th. Ulysses Sandoval, who was also caught up in that, it looked like he might be able to continue, but it looks like he may also have called it. Scoring is showing engine failure for the 96. I didn't see him smoking when he left the incident, but he could very well have had engine damage as he was kind of in that whole domino effect as well.
Well, Michael just heard what happened to Ulysses, and he said, well, I guess that means I win the bracket challenge again.
Yeah, that's true. Another wreck that's going to determine another advancee in the bracket challenge.
This caution was also a break for Bob Seminara. He'll get the free pass.
Get the free pass. He can come down, top off the fuel tank, and I'm pretty sure that now everybody's going to be able to make it on fuel. So that was the caution that he needed. The first caution didn't come out for him, didn't help him out prior to making the pit stop. This caution helps him out. And he's got a pretty decent chunk of laps to be able to work with to make forward progress here as well. We're going to have the lights out more than likely next time by, be somewhere around 15 laps to go.
Yeah, cars out of the race. Sean Turner, because of the tornado siren. So hopefully everything's good over there. Robert Breedlove, Jeremy Jeffries, Javier Negron, and just recently, like you said, Ulysses Sandoval with engine failure. It says Negron has retired due to a clutch issue. I think it was the fact that he got hit about 6 times in less than 3 seconds.
I believe he was on his side at one point during that crash. And
the
looked
car
like he got hit in every direction possible, it looked like. And
the car went through a meat grinder.
It's amazing you could drive that thing back to pit road.
John Godfrey with the fastest lap so far tonight, 201.256 mile per hour average, which is a 47.5 second lap. Didn't we have a 203 one time?
We did.
Yeah.
Low 203.
Crazy. Absolutely
normally
crazy.
Are used to seeing 202 about the average week after week, but yeah, that 203 was nuts.
We always talk about that being an average from start-finish line to start-finish line. So, because they slow down a little bit in the turns, to have an average speed of 203 all the way around is nuts.
Well, with Javier Negron out of the race, we obviously know there were some hard hits taken there. Ulysses Sandoval out of the race. That car, damage-wise, at least visibly, didn't look all that bad, but obviously the engine taking some terminal damage kind of makes you question a lot of the other drivers that were involved in that wreck too. Some others that were involved in that domino effect, including last week's winner, Mark Paglia. For the most part, the incidents we've had here tonight, drivers have been able to remain up to speed and competitive. This might be the first wreck so far this evening where we could see some drivers damaged off the pace and just hoping that they can cling on to the draft when we get back up through the gears.
So that wreck knocked out both Ulysses Sandoval and Javier Negron. Those are 2 teammates over there for Wrecking Ball. For Team Wrecking Ball right there, so it's a tough break for both of them.
Yeah, their numbers dwindling. I think their highest running driver right now would be Doug Hulick. On the outside of the second row is Joe DeSpirito going to get us back green. You know, we talked at length about Josh Metallic, what he's been able to do this season. And as you said, Kyle, you have that consistency. Eventually, you got to get a feeling that that driver is going to find himself in victory lane. Joe DeSpirito, 3rd in the points coming into tonight's race, 7 points out of the top position. So he's had a great start in the first 5 races. We may see him be able to also cap off that consistency with a win here tonight.
He surprisingly did not make the playoffs last season. Had a chance there in that final race before the playoffs started. In fact, him and Donnie Garrett were running 1st and 2nd coming to the white flag. Both of them were in a must-win situation, and Garrett was able to win the race, and DeSpirito missed out. But I believe DeSpirito won the final race of last season, so carried that momentum into this season.
Ken Roberts going to restart on the outside. Of course, he was about 2 months ago. Took the checkered flag, this same mod, this same racetrack in the RTG 2026 Super Speedway All-Star Race. He's had a strong start to the season, 10th in the overall points, looking to cap it off with a victory. And Donnie Garrett, who we saw go clutch not once but twice last season, he'll be on the inside of the second row. Donnie, this has not been the start to the season. He has looked for 5 races so far, and he currently finds himself sitting all the way down in the 33rd position in points. He had to race his way into the field here tonight, and on top of that, he's been having technical issues. I think he said that during qualifying, his headset broke, so I'm not certain if he's having verbal communication with drivers here tonight or not, but you certainly want to be able to hear the engine of your race car and those around you, I would think.
Well, that was an interesting restart right there. The 55 of Ken Roberts got a little too good of a start. 23 couldn't stay with him. We saw the 24 inch ahead take the lead, and then Donnie Garrett saw an opportunity, jumped up to the outside. Now he's going to be side by side with the 24 Espirito to try to lead this lap.
Donnie Garrett's best finish so far this season, 14th. All his other 4 finishes, 26th or worse. So maybe the halfway point of the regular season is the turning point for driver 77, who was a part of the Final Four to compete for the championship 1 season ago. They are locked side by side, several rows deep. We're 3 wide back outside of the top 10. That's the Ford of Craig Hagley trying to make something happen with one of this season's former winners, Kelly Causey.
Yeah, they're making a lot of ground on that outside line right now. Middle line is where you want to be, it looks like, as Donnie Garrett gets pushed to the lead. Got the 55 of Ken Roberts right behind him. He's side by side with the Spirito for the second spot.
Oh, Norman slapped the wall back there coming out of 4.
That's some pretty good right side damage I saw there as well. Whoa,
Somebody just disappeared.
Metallic.
Is that Metallic?
Yeah, Metallic is gone.
There he is.
He went
Our
to the
points
nether
leader
realm.
having some slight connection issues right there.
He's a part-time sorcerer, though, so he's just using his invisibility cloak. Now you see me, now you don't.
One driver that's not in the field here tonight, and I can't believe it took 54 laps to realize it. Chuck McClure, the defending 2-time champion, not here this evening.
I was just wondering about that. We have not just noticed we hadn't really called the 17 tonight, and that explains it.
Chuck came into this race 9th in points. More than likely will be taking a provisional. Be interesting to see where he's positioned going into next week. Mentioned about the fact that the last 2 seasons that Chuck's taken the checkered flag, it's been 2 different paths. He had a very early checkered flag back in season 66 that got him into the playoffs, and then won the first playoff race of the second round to advance to the Final Four. Last season, he relied entirely on consistency to get himself into the playoffs. Winless during the regular season. Still winless this season as well, as, boy, nobody wants to go in line now. Everybody is racing it up. Saw Denny Carroll move to that middle groove. Ken Roberts says, I'll take that lane a little bit higher, thank you very much.
We're almost down to 10 to go. Time
We are
flies
in
when
race
you're
back
having fun.
territory as well if a caution were to come out. A couple of drivers that were involved in earlier incidents. We saw Grant Wesley involved in the second caution off of turn 2. Tim Knopfsker, who took a pretty good hit in that wreck as well into the inside wall. Those 2 look none the worse for wear. Now up inside of the top 5, 3rd and 4th position. A couple former winners on the season. Mentioned about the fact that, you know, the odds are in favor of us going 6 for 6 in different winners, but you've got 3 former winners as you add in Denny Carroll's 41 that say, hey, I want to be the first one to 2 victories here in season 68.
Looks like another former winner, Kelly Causey, leading an outside line now, making it 3 wide there at the very back. Got Bob Seminara right behind him.
Seminara getting that lucky dog under the last yellow. Would have started back in the 35th position. Scoring has him right now 23rd, so at least plus 12 for the driver that played a little extra strategy to gain himself 10 valuable points here tonight at the halfway point of this race.
These guys back here in mid-pack trying to get some three-wide going here, but there's some gaps in the plan.
A lot of movement in this area of the field as well. So if you're
Jeffrey
looking at
Elliott
a
a lap ago was on the
possibility
top
of our
line.
fifth yellow, it might be back here.
Jeffrey was on the high line last lap to the middle. Now he's on the bottom. Graham did the same thing.
Him and Cody Lamas got really close there about a second ago, and Cody's going to tuck in behind the 56.
Focused on the 00 of Kelly Causey on that high line. He's sticking with it.
And you see the driver that he's now going to put up alongside of there, Josh Metallic, who had that connection issue. You got to wonder how much that came into play of drivers maybe bailing on him and sticking him in that middle line, now dropping back outside of the top 20.
Yeah, you want him behind you, you don't want him in front of you, because at least if he's behind you and he disappears, he'll just go backwards a little bit.
Not always true.
Oh, really?
I had an occasion in a league race that I officiated where a driver was running third. Somehow he warped forward and was the leader. So,
oh
wow.
Huh.
It only happened once.
Well, learn how to do that.
Time
right?
travel. Yeah. It's like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, some Doctor Who type stuff. And that's the thing, the net code is going to just estimate probably where you are compared to your game. And yeah, that's interesting.
Especially at super speedways. At super speedways, it is so difficult to gauge.
Yeah. Well, we've seen before, it gives us the fastest lap, John Godfrey, 201.2. I've seen that be 1,200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second, what? Half second lap, 1,000 mile an hour. I'm like, okay. Well, what happened there? Just a weird internet glitch at the start line, and
Palmer making a move here. He's got Ken Roberts right behind him, a couple of others.
He's not waiting around. Palmer is kind of the last few laps, but of the mentality, go where they ain't. And Ken Roberts has been more than willing to follow him.
And the crazy thing, too, we haven't even said the word Greg Palmer until right now, the whole entire broadcast. And there he is. It's funny how some guys just sort of blend in, they're out there and they're just racing their race, and then at the end, they're like, wait a second, where'd this guy come from?
Yeah, a quiet night in a super speedway race isn't always a bad thing.
No.
If we don't call your name, usually that means you've been able to stay out of trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man. Up and over goes the 4 of Schilling.
Oh, man, Gilardi, happy birthday. Oh, no.
Oh, man. Robert Spring, Dennis
and of
McCarthy,
course, that happens right
Bernie
when I
Mobbs,
decide to retire.
Cody Lamas, all involved. One of Randy Waugh as well.
Yeah, Michael, I thought you
of maybe a late bump into the corner.
I thought you'd have a chance to gain some spots there, but
no, I mean it was coming to the end. It really doesn't matter. I get put in the wall and then just it's best not to say nothing. At least I still beat Ulysses, even if it's by one spot.
it started with the 4 of Schilling.
Oh, wow. Schilling got rolled.
The 4 kind of, I caught the tail end of it. It looked like it started snapping around. I feel like he probably got a late bump as they were going into the entry of the corner. Yeah, it just all started wadding up there from Novsker
really
to Schilling to Cabana.
Looked like all of Hendrick Motorsports got caught up in that. The Jeff Gordon throwback. You got Cody Lamas and the Jimmy Johnson throwback. You have the Terry Labonte throwback.
My goodness,
man,
you're
that's
right.
just...
Pretty sure that Kellogg's came out with a car set that had like the 5 different drivers. That was 4 of those 5 drivers right there. Who would have been the one that got through? Brian Vickers. Vickers would have been the one that got through.
Yeah, I actually have that car set.
So we can watch here Brian Schilling doing a burnout on the hood of Bernie Mobbs. The car rolls across the hood of he was on. I mean, that thing was rolling all over everybody.
Yeah, just
that 29 car got caught up in it, like you mentioned, Blaine. Not what Mangialardi was looking for on his birthday.
No.
And remember what I mentioned the last 2 weeks, what Josh Metallic has been able to do, get through those late wrecks? If we can get a camera on the 39, another week, another wreck that he is able to find some way of getting through.
Kind of got into Cody a little bit right there, but everybody was stacking up in front of him. Metallic did a nice job again getting through that.
This caution came out prior to what we would have originally dubbed the point of no return. Obviously, that's a little bit more with the expedited cautions. That's a little bit smaller of a window now, but we should be able to get these guys back green, looking potentially at a 2-lap shootout to settle this thing out. So we had late race theatrics last week when it came down to who had the fuel to get to the end. How about a little late race theatrics this week? But we know that everybody's good to make it to the checkered flag on what they've got in the tank. Now it's driver versus driver, car versus car.
Man, I got a pretty good camera angle from Josh Metallic for everything happening around him. Like you said, that was wild.
Like Mike Mangialardi's retired out of the race. He'll get credit for 34th. Right there for him. Schilling has actually had his crew repair his car as best they can. He has returned to the racetrack. There's no way that car is up to speed, but we end up having another wreck here before the checkered flag. He could maybe pick up a couple of spots and gain some points in a finishing position. Like a couple of other drivers came down to repair damage, but we're going to have about 33 drivers left to finish this thing out.
Lights on the pace car are off, so we're going to have a 2-lap shootout.
Donnie Garrett's going to be the control car. Kind of reminds me of one of those races last season. I think it was the race where Donnie needed a win to be able to get into the final 4. It was a late race restart, and he was able to hold them off for 2 or 3 laps. It's kind of a sense of deja vu for him here. That's Greg Palmer. We saw him slicing and dicing. We know that he and Ken Roberts, they were working together. They're going to be lined up nose to tail on that outside line. Joe DeSpirito is going to be the help for Donnie Garrett on the inside. Then you got Grant Wesley in 5th. 6th, Craig Hagley, Knopsker, Denny Carroll, Greg Lovell, and Bob Seminara is 10th. Can you believe that? After everything that's happened with him, was able to get those halfway stage points, fell a lap down. Seminara is in position to finish inside of the top 10 and maybe even better.
So he's the guy who needed the yellows, and he got a couple of good ones.
I don't think anyone's passed more cars tonight, that is for sure. It's going to be an interesting restart. Right there, you got the front row of Donnie Garrett and Greg Palmer. Right behind them, 2 good pushers, and Joe DeSpirito and Ken Roberts right there in the 55.
Even if he leads these last 2 laps, I don't think Donnie Garrett would be able to get the bonus point for most laps led. It's super close between 3 drivers. 15 laps led for Denny Carroll, 14 for Bob Seminara, 12 for Ken Roberts. Right now, Carroll holds the bonus spot, but doesn't mean that Roberts or Seminara can't get up here to the lead potentially. And in the case of Seminara, maybe tie Carroll. We'll have to wait and see here. It's going to be 2 laps. They have to make it around to the white for the race to end under green flag conditions. Pretty even start, maybe a slight advantage for the 22.
22 got the lap. Showing Garrett in second, it switched.
And outside the top 10, they're not waiting around. Third line already forming. Anderson's up there. Seminara, Sullins. Here comes Carroll.
77's got to stay on the inside. They get 3 wide. The inside lane's golden.
Ooh, Carroll looked a little loose up there.
Wow, Lovell was pushing Novsker. He's getting a little squirrely, but they held on to it.
It's what you want to see if you're Donnie Garrett. Them side
Palmer.
by side.
Palmer way to the outside, getting in front of Carroll.
All right, white
Spirito
flag.
cleared a second, so here we go. White flag.
Top 3, top 4 going to get clear on that inside line. Maybe even the top 5 back to Lovell here off of turn 2. Now, got to find your dancing partners down the back straightaway. Who makes the move?
We know how wide Donnie Garrett can make that back bumper. We'll see. We're going to see him do it right here.
Single file, the first 6 guys, and then they're 3 wide all the way to the back almost.
Novsker backed up a little bit off of Wesley. He might be trying to build something here off of 4.
Spirito to the outside.
Whoa, he
Novsker
timed it
goes
well
with him.
with Novsker.
Big push.
Not going to be enough, though.
No,
Nope.
it's not. That inside line's got too much momentum. Donnie
Nice.
Garrett will have him 3 wide in his rear view mirror, but he'll take the checkered flag here tonight. His first finish inside of the top 10 is a checkered flag here in season 68.
And there he goes.
Oof.
Crumples to the inside wall.
That'd make a cool race to win diecast if it was possible.
Lionel would never.
Everything's possible with a hammer. Oh, man.
I mean, he's got a point.
Chevrolet breaks back into victory lane after Ford was able to get the victory last week with Mark Paglia. And for Donnie Garrett, this is almost kind of shades of what Denny Carroll did a couple of weeks ago, a driver that came in outside the top 30 in points, leapfrogs through the standings with a victory. Donnie Garrett, 33rd in points coming into tonight. He will certainly be above the top 30 in the standings going into next week. Will not have to race his way into the field. And now just has to get himself up above the 20th in the standings cut line to at least qualify for a wild card spot and be a part of this season's chase.
And we are 6 for 6. 6 races, 6 different winners.
Yes, we are. Garrett came 2 laps short of getting the bonus point for most laps led. Denny Carroll with 15 circuits out in front is going to get it here tonight.
It's pretty impressive burnout with the back end all torn up now.
It is. Probably leaking fuel all over the place, but we're not going to need the racing surface till next week.
I gotta burn it down right there on the start-finish line.
Donnie started this race from the 12th position. Found himself up front when it mattered the most. You kind of think back to, I believe he was a part of that group that had come to pit road prior to the first caution coming out and gained a lot of track position that way and pretty much was able to maintain it during the course of the night. Grant Wesley's going to bring it home in second. Joe DeSpirito in third. So we'll be talking with those podium finishers here in just a moment. Looks like as far as the brackets are concerned, we already knew that Tim Knopfsker was moving on with Jeremy Jeffries having the mechanical failure here tonight. Greg Lovell finishes 4th, Ken Roberts 8th, so Lovell is going to advance over Roberts. The 3rd place finish for DeSpirito will advance him over Paglia. Michael Norman He and Ulysses Sandoval both DNF tonight, but Michael the higher finishing position, so he will advance. Craig Hagley and Bernie Mobbs coming into this one. It looks like Hagley was able to win that battle, 9th for the 82, so he'll advance. Denny Carroll advances over Mike Mangialardi, who DNF'd here tonight. Josh Metallic, where did he finish? 12th to Graham McDonald's 20th, so Metallic will advance, and Kelly Causey will advance with Breedlove having a mechanical failure here tonight. So those are the 8 drivers moving on to the 3rd round of the bracket. All the other drivers will migrate down to the loser's side of the bracket with still a chance to fight for the title at the end of the season. Let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers here tonight. All Chevrolets, and let's kick it off with our 3rd place finisher this evening, Joe DeSpirito. Hey Joe, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, I got you. How you doing?
Doing good. Great run for you here tonight in the conversation on that final green-white checker to maybe pick up your first victory on the season, but solid points night. You came into this race 3rd in points, so it's been a good start to the season for you, and you advance in the bracket. I know the icing on the cake would have been the checkered flag, but how satisfied are you with the finish here tonight and what you've been able to accomplish here in the first 5, now make it 6 races?
Yeah, it's been a pretty consistent start to the season. Besides a wreck at the end on the first race, I was running in the top 10 and everything went to crap on the last turn there. But yeah, it's been consistent. I think after the bonus points for halfway get put into the point standings, I should have the points lead. So yeah, just a good start. Just trying to be consistent this season, and the reward consistency more than gunning for wins this season, which I prefer.
We saw that move that you made off of turn 4, and you timed it perfectly the same time that the 088 was making the move for the 3rd position. Did you think that there'd be enough momentum up there? Were you kind of surprised that the inside line was able to surge ahead there as you were making your way midway through the tri-oval?
Yeah, the 3rd lane has been coming. It seems like every 2 laps the 3rd lane comes, and the 3rd lane keeps coming. So it's like at the end, usually whoever protects the bottom kind of wins there. And I figured Donnie was going to protect the bottom, which he did. And I could either stay in 2nd and push him or at least try for the win. And I lost 1 spot there, which wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was, the restart before is when I stayed low and Donnie went high. And he just got right in front of me, and that was the race-winning move. So congrats to him on the win. But yeah, there wasn't much I could do at the end there.
We've seen a little bit of everything here in these first 6 races. This has been a very widespread in terms of scenarios season for you guys. You go back last week, it was a fuel strategy race. This week, it was that green-white checkered finish. Obviously, it's got to make it difficult for a driver, not only for in-the-moment preparation, but for pre-race preparation as well. Mention about the fact that it's been very difficult, it seems, for drivers to be able to establish a sense of consistency this season. You've been able to do so. How challenging has it been week to week to do so, and how challenging do you think it will be here in these final 4 races leading up to the chase?
Yeah, it's going to get tougher and tougher with more people gunning to get into I believe it's top 16, I think, this season. Yeah, so people that are outside of that are going to be gunning for the lead, probably gambling with the bonus points at halfway, and you're going to be seeing guys that are not normally up front, trying to steal some points and stuff. So it's going to get wild for these last 4 races here. So just got to stay out of trouble and try to make it through the wrecks.
Joe, congratulations on another great run here tonight, bringing it home on the podium position. As you said, potentially going to be the points leader with the halfway stage points that you were able to garner as well. Very well in the conversation for the regular season championship here as well, with about a month left to go until we put that chase grid together. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I want to thank RTG, of course, and all the admins. You guys at FRN and Tarnation TV, you guys always do a great job every week. Race LM, Sullins Paints, Mobs Motors, some of my sponsors, Old City Fly Shop. I want to thank them, and always want to thank the guys above watching over us. Bones and all of our fallen drivers that that we've had and come and gone and raced with over these years. And I want to thank everybody watching at home, Uncle T, LC, Dan, and everybody at work. Thanks, guys.
As Joe DeSpirito brings it home solidly 3rd place here tonight, keeps himself up there at the top of the board in the overall point standings. Congratulations on the great run here tonight. Best of luck going forward next week.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
See if we can now get a hold of the driver that brings it home 2nd place here this evening. Another driver up there in the conversation of the regular season points lead. Hey, Grant's the guys up here in the broadcast booth to get a copy.
I got you.
I'll tell you what, we end up seeing a lot of former race winners making their way up here to the front. We've been touting here since the start of this race. Odds certainly in favor of a 6th different driver going to victory lane, but you made your bid to try and be the first multi-time winner on the season. Top 5 all clear off of turn 2. Everybody trying to figure out who's going to make the move and when. You were sitting in the 3rd position. What was the plan? How much of it went according to how you originally drew it up? Did you have to make any ad-lib decisions there off of turns 3 and 4?
Yeah, so the plan was to basically go with Joe. The last 10 or so laps, it was sort of Donnie, Joe, and me and Tim up front. We were super tight. I mean, we were running 199 on the bottom lane, which is a really good speed, and I knew that we were going to be tough to beat down there. I was content hanging with those guys. We had that green-white checkered. I knew the 3 wide was coming. I was happy to restart on the bottom. It all worked out perfect to plan. And coming off turn 4, Donnie, he's aggressive. Just like I am, just like anyone else that's leading the race is going to be. I knew Joe was going to try to make a move, and he went to the outside. I was going to go with him. I started to go with him, and Donnie made that block, and it was, one of those kind of, I seen the left front of Joe's car hit the right rear of Donnie's car, and I wasn't sure if that was going to create a major checkup or, what was going to happen, so I just shot back down to the bottom. At that point, I was thinking, man, I just need someone to come down here with me and just shove me past both of them. And I thought maybe I could pick one up. But, Donnie, he was smart. He moved back down. And my best option at that point was just to push him to the win. So congratulations to Donnie Garrett on the win.
Obviously, one of the drivers that is locked into the chase with your victory earlier on this season. And we talked to you then about it allowing you to maybe be a little bit more aggressive to making moves and trying to find victory lane a couple of more times before the chase grid is put together. But another thing that we talked about that you drivers definitely seem to consider an awful lot during the course of these races is the bracket challenge as well. How much was that kind of weighing on your mind in terms of the moves you were making in the closing stages?
My opponent was, I think it was Dennis McCarthy. I'm not sure where he finished. I just know he wasn't around me. So honestly, I wasn't worried about that in the final, 5 or 6 laps. But throughout the race, it's definitely something you think about. Last week, I ended up losing my bracket because I ended up wrecking out of that one. So we're in the loser side, but, we can always come back from that. It's a double elimination. So we picked up the win this time.
Speaking of coming back, you ended up getting involved in an incident earlier on in this race, lost a lot of track position and had to work your way forward. We've had drivers talk about getting gridlocked, that when that 3rd line comes up, it stalls out the middle line. How have you been able to find a way to be able to, even with the adversity you had here tonight, be able to gain that track position back, ultimately have yourself up here at the front when it matters the most?
I've kind of learned when you start in the back, basically you go to the 3rd lane. The risk there is if there is an early accident, you're vulnerable up there to being put in the wall. But yeah, if you go 3rd lane, it seems like you make up a lot of track position, but then you have to be able to make the next judgment of when to move back to the middle. And then as people cycle to the middle, then you move back to the 3rd lane, and you just kind of do that until you get up towards the front. Seems to work pretty well.
Well, Grant, a great run for you here tonight. We mentioned about the fact that you're another driver that is up there in the conversation for this regular season championship, and still quite a ways to go in this regular season as well. 4 races still on the horizon before we put that chase grid together. But another solid outing for you here this evening, bringing it home second place. Congratulations on the great run. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, congratulations, Donnie Garrett, on the win. I'd like to thank the owners here with RTG, Sean, Jeremy, Josh, and Jason. They do a ton of work behind the scenes. We all appreciate it. The admins here on Thursday, Josh, Rodney, and Tim. This thing, we had like 46 drivers tonight, had knockout queue. We've had knockout queue as long as I can remember, and those guys do it flawlessly. So, yeah, thanks to those guys for doing what they do. FRN, Tarnation TV, Kyle, Seth, Blaine, thanks to you guys. I love being able to share this with my family and friends, and really like watching it back. I'd like to thank my teammates with XFM. I'd like to thank Carrie, Gavin, and Ava for watching tonight, my friends and family.
Well, that's Grant Wesley's second place here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Another solid points night for him as he continues to hunt that regular season championship down this home stretch of the regular season. Congratulations once again, Grant. Best of luck next week.
Thanks.
And let's see if we can go down to Victory Lane and dial up the 6th different winner on the season, the Nature Boy, Donnie Garrett. Hey, Donnie, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. First off, congratulations on the victory, but I think just as much congratulations on a great finish. We talked about the fact this has been a struggling start to the year for this 77 car. Best finish of 14th coming in tonight. The other finishes well outside of the top 20. Came into this race, had to race your way in on time here tonight in the knockout qualifying. I know we could tell by the celebration there was a lot of excitement, but how much relief was there as well as you crossed the line and took that checkered flag?
Man, I was just glad I made the race. I mean, I was so nervous all day, and I was like, man, I can't believe, I finished in the top 3 in the season before, and I got to qualify my way in. But, it's just, you get those seasons. And, I finished second, got called for a penalty. Finished, last week had a great finish, called for a penalty. So it just, I don't agree with some of those penalties, but hey, I got a lot of respect for Josh and them guys, and they make the best call. Josh will tell you, I'm making a judgment call, and they're not always right, but I respect them, and I'm not going to do anything this season because I'm missing two races in a row towards the end of the season here, and maybe if I can win the next one, maybe next 2, I think I'll be here for the next 7-14. I'll be here for one more week, then I'll be gone for 2 weeks. So if I can win next week, I don't know, maybe, and we'll see what happens.
I mentioned about how we saw you last season in 2 clutch situations be able to get the victories you needed to not only make it into the playoffs, but then to advance into the Final Four. This race, this final restart, kind of put me in mind. You were the control car last season to get into the Final Four on a green-white checkered. Same situation here. How much of last season, what you were able to do, did you dial up here? Because obviously you had the 24 making the move there off the final corner. You had the 88 making the move down there to the inside, so you had a lot of lanes you had to cover there on that final half lap.
Yeah, I've made that mistake by going up high, and then of course the minute the third lane goes, that middle lane gets sucked back. So I figured I was going to stay on the bottom, win, lose, or draw until we come off of 4. Then I was going to probably start moving around a little bit to block lanes. But I've learned so much from that time where Grant passed me up on that high side on for the last inch of our cars, and lost that race to him. But just stay. I said, I'll stay on the bottom because again, I figured that third lane was going to come extremely fast. So I figured, well, the bottom line will pull away, which we did. And then of course I knew Joe would take a shot. I don't blame him for that. He's racing for a lot too. So I got him kind of blocked up high and pulled back down in front of Grant, and then kind of went to the middle. And I knew Grant couldn't get by me on the bottom. So just, I don't think I ever looked at the front windshield coming off the 4. You're just watching sides and back,
One thing that I observed as well, you started this race from the 12th position and were one of the drivers, it seemed, that was able to maintain the track position. We would see drivers that qualified up at the front, they would fade to the middle of the pack towards the rear of the field, but you were basically able to stay up in the top 10, if not the top 15, for most of this race. Were able to gain track position with the early pitting prior to that first caution. How were you able to do that? Because it kind of seems like for a lot of drivers, it's a race of ebbs and flows. You spend some time at the front, then you go to the back, then you work your way back up to the front, but you were able to find where the lanes were, where the momentum was to keep the track position almost the whole race.
I told you I had to kill you.
Oh, okay. It's a secret. All right. We won't delve any further in that.
It's just watching, when you're up front, I shouldn't be saying this, but when you're up front, you got to watch that third line. If you just see that third line eke out, you better get to the bottom because you're in trouble. And and you see that tonight. You see a couple guys running up front, doing a great job. Bottom line kind of goes, and then the third line comes, and the guy leading that was leading. And so I'd love for some setup changes to kind of take that away. But I do like the racing, but you gotta race the race. And that's part of it. So if you're in that center line and you see that third line starting to form, you better get out of that middle line because you're screwed. So that's when I would go back to the bottom. I'd find a way. I got lucky, and somebody would be a little lagging, and I'd jump down, and then of course, that line would dissipate. Back up to the top I go. And so I did that all night. And so that worked. It worked tonight. And next week might try the same thing. Might end up 30th. You never know.
Well, it definitely did work. It got you to be the control car on that final restart. Kept them all in your rear view mirror. Your nose crossed at the line to take the checkered flag. Congratulations on a job well done here tonight. We'll let you get back to your celebrating in victory lane here in just a moment. But first, we'll give you the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, thank you guys as always. Thank the owners and admin here. Josh and Tim and Rodney, they've got a tough job to keep 45, 50 guys in line. And like I say, might not always agree, but ton of respect for those guys and what they do. So they put a lot of work into these calls. And but like I say, I want to give an additional shout out to Rodney Sellens and Rodney Sellens Paints. I tell you what, Master Glide car tonight was slipping through the field as usual. And I love those cars he paints. He's an amazing painter. And I give a shout out to Hootie. Hootie's watching tonight, so I got to give a shout out to her and Jackson, Landon, and Big Head Tony, and give a shout out to all of them. And she got to watch me win this race tonight. So awesome night, and we're going to keep on trying to win races.
Well, he parks it in victory lane here tonight. Donnie Garrett, his first victory of the season here in season 68. Congratulations on a job well done, Donnie. Maybe we see you double down next week here. It looks like you've made your way up into the top 20 in points, so might still be a shot for you to be able to be a part of the postseason festivities. We wish you the best of luck going forward. Enjoy this victory tonight.
Woo!
Donnie Garrett, your winner here this evening as Chevrolet breaks back into victory lane. I believe that's now the fourth victory for Chevy. Ford with one, Dodge with one so far this season. But as we mentioned, Kyle, we've seen a little bit of everything this season so far. Tonight, it was the late race theatrics with a green-white checkered finish. And for the second time in the last 3 weeks, it's a driver going to victory lane who had to race his way into the field on time in go-or-go-home qualifying.
Yeah, hard to believe that. And these are two drivers that were in the playoffs last season. In fact, Donnie Garrett was in the final four, but had to make the race on time tonight. Was able to do it, and it paid off greatly for him.
Point standings have been calculated currently, unofficial as we say. Got to tune in next week for all the official word based off of reviews. I'm not certain if the midway stage points have been calculated, but tentatively, Joe DeSpirito showing at the top of the board. 6 points over Tim Knopsker, 9 over Josh Metallic, then Wesley and Roberts in 4th and 5th. But I think a topic that we're going to be talking about next week, Kyle, is drivers down around that 20th in the standings cut line. Mentioned to Donnie Garrett that he has now moved up 13 spots with that victory to 20. So he'd be in a wild card spot right now outside of the original 16 that would make it into the chase. But there are some really interesting names down between that 16th through 20th, most notably Jeremy Jeffries, who had the mechanical problem here tonight, and Chuck McClure, who was not in the field, 17th and 19th respectively. We've got 4 races left. It's not panic time, but certainly you would like to have the luxury of victory now rather than later on in the final 2, even the final race of this regular season. There are some big name drivers that I think we're going to have to keep a very close watch on here in this upcoming month.
Yeah, definitely. We saw this, we kind of saw the same kind of scenario last season with tonight's race winner, Donnie Garrett. He was in a must-win situation in the final race of the regular season, needed to win in order to have a chance to racing for the championship. He was able to do that. And if it comes down to it, there's a lot of drivers in the, that's in the field week in and week out who are more than capable of doing the same exact thing. So it's good. Like you said, these next few weeks are going to be quite fun to watch.
Well, 6 races down, 6 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Will the trend continue? You'll have to join us next Thursday night to find out, as these drivers will make their way back here to Talladega Superspeedway for yet another 66 lapper. 4 races left to go here in the regular season until the chase grid is put together. Looking forward to seeing what the next month has in store. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. For Blaine Donlin, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week for the continuation of the 68th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on the Flatout Racing Network and Tar Nation TV.